But Ambassador Trigunayat, since Professor Nalapat talked about China, let me also ask you this then. The Chinese have made a proposal on behalf of BASIC countries. There's a group BASIC at this summit that includes India, Brazil and South Africa. And they've asked the summit to address the restrictive trade measures, something that is very important when it comes to financing, the climate action. And with Donald Trump coming in, somebody who's talked about increasing tariffs, particularly on Chinese goods as well. How do you see that really now impacting, since, we'll see a Trump 2.0 and there are concerns of a deja vu happening?
Well, as Professor Nalpat also said, the Baku, the theme is back from road to ruin. I mean, how you are going to get back from here, and it's also called as the finance cop. Well, finance cop means trying to get about $1 trillion, whereas we have not been able to get even $100 billion. So that's the one of the key issues here. The thing is that there is no willingness on the part of the global north to provide or equalize or provide equity to the others. Now, China has emerged and has been trying really hard to green its industrial this thing. In fact, there have been several studies which show that some of the problems that they have faced in recent times with regard to the economy is also due to the result of their trying to green their economy faster. At the same time, they have emerged as the major producer of the electric vehicles. Now, electric vehicles, on the one hand, are a good thing because they help you, do some reduction in the emissions. On the other, they create a market distortion. And that's precisely what the Western countries don't like. So here again, there is some kind of, I would say, the imbalance that occurs in the policy prescriptions and the real desire. There comes a trade distortion. And the BASIC and others may say or do whatever it is. But at the end of the day, if the major polluters in the world are not on the same side, and if, for example, Trump once again decides to opt out, calling it a hoax as he has done, then I think we are looking at a very, very challenging times ahead. Most of the countries, because of the Russia-Ukraine war, because of the weaponization of the food, fuel, and fertilizers, we have seen Germany and the European countries also moving more towards coal and other, these kind of fossil fuels. So this is something that's a real thing, a real problem, existential problem for the humankind. Yet, COP after COP, we have reached 29 and we have not been able to get what we had agreed in 2009 and onwards and 2015. So these are the critical issues, crucial issues, and there is no semblance of any kind of a synergy emerging out of these COPs to me, and I will doubt very much if we are able to even achieve $100 billion, forget about $1 trillion.
And therefore, Professor Madhav Nalapat, how do you see this then working out for the global south? You also have something that the EU has been pushing for, that's the CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, something that is hoped to be implemented by 2026, which perhaps could work against global south countries like India and China, two countries which have been villainized in this entire climate crisis, when it should be the developed nations which would actually be taking the responsibility of this entire situation that we're all in.
Shreya, let's not compare India and China. First of all, China is not part of the global south, whether geographically or in terms of total income, or even now in terms of per capita income. It's not part of the global south anymore. So let's avoid that. I think basically, it has outlived its function, and China is using it as a way of trying to prevent tariffs from rising during a period when tariffs are going to rise, because there are a lot of hidden subsidies in the Chinese system, and that's why they're able to compete all over the place. Besides the fact that the way they get their technology is something that you and I know very well will happen. Now, nuclear energy is obviously an answer. Fusion energy is an answer. And I think if we manage to work on two things, one is cheap energy through nuclear fusion. And second is if we get desalinization at an economical level, then I think, frankly, we are well on the road to saving the planet. Technology has been the only key that can work to basically save the planet. And I would put emphasis on nuclear fusion. I remember way back, the Homi Bhabha, the father of our atomic program, he was talking about nuclear fusion. I think we need to supercharge that, and we need to supercharge that with friendly countries, not with unfriendly countries who are at war with us in various ways. And frankly, I think this entire speaking on behalf of BASIC is basically a way of China trying to ensure that tariffs don't hurt it, when the reality is it's flooding the markets all over the world. And a lot of these markets are reacting by imposing tariffs, including on Chinese EVs. So, frankly, Shreya, I think Ambassador Trigunia is absolutely spot on when he says when even 100 billion has proved very far from being met, not even 10%. Some countries haven't met even 5%. And then we're talking of 1 trillion. It's great. We can talk of 1 trillion, 5 trillion, 10 trillion. But when you don't do 100 billion, how on earth are you going to say that we're going to do 1 trillion? The fact is that the developed countries have basically totally tried to shift the burden onto the poor countries. And the poor countries, frankly, many of the people there are living on the margin of subsistence, unlike what's happening in the developed world. And they can't afford any further lowering, any further tightening of the belt. Their belt is already totally tight. It can't be tightened any further. And the countries that can tighten their belt, they're not doing so. But again, I would like to say, as far as BASIC is concerned, the Chinese are very cleverly using it as a tariff dodging exercise when they are flooding the world with imports, which have got all kinds of hidden subsidies in it.